cardboard heroes easily, as you'll see. It's called Rock and Roll. I've thought about the many nights of rock and roll I've spent in my youth hardcore. My grandma taught me how to rock. She hummed Elvis while she hemmed my pants. She liked Elvis. She liked him so much that she bought me a black leather jacket, motorcycle jacket like Marlon Brando's. That really pissed Mrs. Taylor off. She kicked me out of the first grade. She said I'd be a bad influence on all the other kids. I didn't like those snotty-nosed kids anyway. They couldn't rock like Grandma. True story.
Oh my gosh. I've heard you read that one before, and I love that one. Like, you don't imagine a 6-year-old or, with a
I clearly remember it.
black leather jacket.
Grandma was something else.
Well, when I was a kid, we didn't we kind of, well, we got into the Beatles, as I know you did, and for me, it's like we used to play with the girls next door, and they had a little drum kit in the basement, and I made a guitar out of cardboard, and I would dress in my brother's suit, and we'd go over and we'd pretend to be the Beatles in their basement. So we didn't want to be like those girls who were hanging on the edge screaming. We wanted to be the Beatles.
All right.
So
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But I also wanted to be Robin Hood, so I'll do that song. Because we, there's a lot of parents nowadays are trying to raise their kids in such a way that they don't, boys don't play with boy toys and girls don't play with girl toys, and they try to make everything accessible to everybody. And I was thinking, we did a lot of that because my dad got us bows and arrows, and we'd hang out in the backyard with our bow and arrows and shoot things, and mostly the target, if we could get the arrow to go that far. But my cousins Karen and Ede would come on their vacations, and Karen would be Robin Hood, and she would get us all organized. Robin Hood is in the backyard with Tuck and Little John. Because I am the youngest, I made Marian. Cotton strings on willow bows, we sharpen sticks to make arrows. Intrepid, we step out into the world. Robin and her merry band of girls. Plastic compass in my pocket from a box of Cracker Jacks, canteen on my shoulder, and a satchel full of snacks. We march through woods and over dunes, orders to be home by noon. Intrepid, we step out into the world. Robin and her merry band of girls, setting the world back right. Princess of Thieves fighting the good fight. Now in the eyes of my granddaughters, smiling up at me, are the ghosts of Tuck and Robin and the girls we used to be. Provisions packed, adventures planned. They step outside and take my hand. Intrepid, we step out into the world. Robin and her merry band of girls. Robin and her merry band of girls.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
You know, I have a bunch of new poems here, and I thought of one when I heard you doing that. So hopefully the reflection on my glasses isn't too weird. This is a new poem. It's called Color Polaroid. I was, as some people know, raised by my grandparents, and as you can tell from my last poem, my grandmother had quite an impact on me, and I'm grateful. Got my first album at 4 years old, Elvis's Golden Hits, Volume 1. It was Volume 1. Now they're up to Volume 79. So this is Color Polaroid. I'm holding in my hand a faded color Polaroid of my grandmother and grandfather. They are standing close to each other in the hallway that I have walked down 1,000 times. I remember the eggshell painted trim my grandpa used to make it easier for grandma to clean, and I can still see that it is still clean and unblemished. My grandmother is looking up, smiling at my grandfather in the picture, who too is smiling into the camera lens. I can sense their deep love for each other. I know they have always had the love that they've always had for one another, standing in the arch in the long hallway. I'm sure that love still exists in that house where we all lived long ago. I reach out now to touch them both. My fingers softly touch my grandma's arm in the photo. And I want to know them both again in the way I did back then. On occasion, I ride my bicycle through my old neighborhood past our old house. And if the sun catches my bedroom window pane at just the right angle and time, I'd swear I see her looking out from behind the lacy curtains. I long for those days as a young boy when my only care was getting home before the street lights in front turned on. They magically lit my way back home. That is where I first knew the deep love I had for those two souls hugging and smiling in a faded old photo in the hallway of our house.
What is it about these times that has so many of us thinking about those kinds of memories? Because I've been thinking about that too. I started writing a song. I didn't finish it yet. About being with my grandma and my grandpa. And my grandpa used to braid my hair for me when I would stay with them. He was a very sweet and gentle soul. And they had two round footstools, and we would lay on them and roll our bodies back and forth over top of those. But I remember being on his front porch, being on my grandma's front porch in Detroit, and somebody came and left a flyer, and I remember Grandpa saying they're trying to break up our block. And that's the time period it was. They lived over on Greeley on the off of 8 Mile or 7 Mile. Weird times. Well, I'm going to do a new song too. This is This is a song that I wrote not for, about, and for maybe. My son Ian started getting these tattoos when he was probably 18. He got his first tattoo and has continued, and they're colorful and beautiful and meaningful. And then this past year, a friend asked if I would redesign a tattoo for her of these birds on her arm. And just so many people I know have tattoos, and they're illustrations of life for them, and they have all this meaning. So I wrote this song. There are words that print themselves on you in beautiful and fine tattoos, images and memories of justice and of travesty. Your story wraps around your spine, heartbreak and the valentines, the touchstones and reminder notes, they cover you just like a coat. And you've worked so hard for every blessing, etched your wings and kept on pressing, while the future keeps you always, always guessing. You show the person who is holding you the best and worst that you've been through. An embrace they'll read 1,000,000 times to know the heart between the lines. And you've worked so hard for every blessing, etched your wings and kept on pressing, while the future keeps you always, always guessing. The baby's born, the loved one's gone, the journey that your heart's been on, worn on ribs, on hands and sleeves, are all those things that make you bleed. The skin that you were born into never seemed complete to you, so you wrote your name in every hue to claim yourself through and through. And you've worked so hard for every blessing, etched your wings and kept on pressing, while the future kept you always, while the future kept you always, while the future keeps you always. always, always guessing. Always guessing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks. New stuff. I wrote that for one of the workshops that I did last year, but I had not finished it and not really dusted it off. So
That's beautiful.
first time playing it out. Thanks.
Was that the workshop thing that I was part of?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, that was cool. Very
Yeah.
good. Well, this one's called Last Night Inside My Blood. Last night I was awake, counting fish inside my blood. All my life, their gentle gills have brushed against the blue walls of my dreams. I should have removed their rusted hooks from their tiny mouths to free them in the moving river of my blood, but my soul could not let them go. Last night I tried again to fall asleep, counting each fish as it carried my life up to the surface of grace.
Beautiful.
Thanks, folks.
I know you're not supposed to do this, but you can do this with a poet. Can you read that line about the fish hooks again? That was great.
Yes. I should have removed their rusted hooks from their tiny mouths to free them in the moving river of my blood.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to do another new song. That one went okay. I haven't made a fool of myself yet.
No.
So
Maybe I'll do a new poem.
sounds good.
I'll wait for the vibe.
Sometime before you quit, will you tell us how to contribute something to in thanks for your performances?
Thank you. I think Kathy has put it in the chat. I think
Oh, all
there's
right. Okay.
there's a. But thanks for asking, Mike.
Yeah.
So this is a new tuning for me too. So Annie Capps wrote a song in this tuning for a writers group that I'm in with her, and as soon as I heard the tuning, I went, "Ooh, new toys! Let's try that one out." So Alan says this is A tuning, and I guess he would know. So I spent the last 10 days writing this song. We'll try it. He said I'm dying the death of a ragdoll here. What's coming next seems pretty clear. It's knocking the stuffing right out of me. It's got me down here on my knees. So she had mercy on his soul, watched over him as he went home. Never made him pay for his cheating ways. Took care of him until his dying day. Don't tell me that isn't love. Don't tell me that's not good enough. Forgiveness, even when you can't forget. Forgiveness, even when you'll never get over it. Forgiveness, don't tell me that isn't love. When it wasn't that hard to fall from grace, and even innocence couldn't keep you safe. We were brushed by, we were bruised by anger, we were raised on shame, cobalt shadow over everything, till her broken heart opened her eyes, and she changed her ways, she changed her life. She offered up apologies, hoped for love enough to find mercy, and don't tell me that isn't love. Don't tell me that it isn't good enough. Forgiveness, even when you can't forget. Forgiveness, even when you'll never get over it. Forgiveness, don't tell me that isn't love. And the clock keeps ticking, pressing like a metronome, and I miss her voice on my telephone. And I feel her lost, I feel her gone, in every room I'm in, and every road I'm on. She clenched her teeth, she closed her eyes. We delivered her soul to the other side, to the arms of the angels, her sister, her kin. Maybe we all end up where we begin. Forgiveness, even you can't forget. Forgiveness, even when you'll never get over it. Forgiveness, don't tell me that isn't love.
Yeah.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Wow.
unbelievable.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I probably have a poem called Forgiveness somewhere, but I can't find it off the top of my head. So I'll read Hope. Forgiveness and Hope. Hope. A sly thing, it pokes its head out from under tumbling sagebrush or up from the bottom of an old pond. Other times, hope slides past everyone who seeks it, a slippery cloud of softness. We'd all like to reach up and grab some and pull it snug to our hearts, but hope is a very sly thing.
That's a nice accompaniment.
Thanks. Back to you, Jan.
I can do my song called Hope. it's always fun to just try to bounce off each other.
Plus, it's never the same show twice. Hey, we're like the Grateful Dead.
Only we're not drunk or high.
Yeah, we already did that.
No LSD.
No, you don't know
mushrooms.
that.
I'm kind of doubting it.
I bought some gummies in Ann Arbor over a year ago. I still haven't opened the bag. I just wanted to do it because I could. You Ann Arbor people.
So this is this song called Hope, and when I wrote it, Obama was running for president for the first time. But it wasn't. It's just that, it was just a feeling. Like at the end of the Bush years, we lost our house. We ended up moving to Fort Wayne. So loss upon loss. I had lost my mom like a year earlier, and then we lost the house, and then we came here, and we had lost our community and our creative community, which was really important to me, and it just felt like the whole thing could fall into an abyss if we didn't have somebody who had a little bit more. We just needed somebody who cared about us to step in and start working, and it still seems like hope is kind of like elusive for us. For years, it's been like, hope is just elusive. I remember reading M. Scott Peck's book, The Road Less Traveled, and in about the first page, he says, "Your happiness is your decision. This is up to you. It's not up to somebody else to make you happy." But I do feel like, collectively, we need some form of hope, and it's got nothing to do with happiness. It's a whole nother thing. So. Let's talk about fear, being afraid, and the toll that it takes on us every day. Pain, grief, and doubt, and the way that it pulls us inside out. When you think that nothing is gonna change, you a prisoner to the pain. But what makes the abused refuse to back down? What makes the broken stand their ground? What makes the heart start to believe? What is the gift that faith receives? What is the soul of the mystery? And what breaks the hold of brutality? Hope, eyes wide open, hope, unbroken hope. And let's talk about what has become of the faith that we gave and the things that are done. Faith in something bigger than us, more real than the people who vie for our trust. 'Cause trust can be abused, truth can be betrayed. So how is anything ever gonna change? Oh, what makes the abused refuse to back down? What makes You and me and hope, eyes wide open, hope, unbroken hope. Oh, it's hope, eyes wide open, hope, will unbroken hope. It's hope, eyes wide open, hope, will unbroken. Thank you. Thanks. Doesn't it seem, ML, like there's just like this clash that has to happen between, you know, almost like people try to let everything kind of ride under the carpet for as long as they can, but eventually you have to just kind of like pull everything up and address it all. And yeah,
Well, maybe that's what's been happening.
yeah,
I think of everything, thinking of Leonard Cohen's line from Anthem, "There's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in." And maybe the last 4 years have been a huge crack in America that needed to be cracked open so we could see what was under that carpet that you're
Yeah.
talking about
yeah.
for all these years. Well, here's another kind of hope, when you mentioned Obama and that. This is a poem of mine called Election. And as most of us who were alive back at this time, we know that it did not end as we had hoped. But I think many of us gave it our best shot. It's called Election. The first and last time I voted with my grandfather, we walked across the schoolyard, gentle mist touching our faces under a gray November sky in 1972. As we walked in silence toward the poll inside, I asked nonchalantly, "Are you going to vote for George McGovern?" In all my years, I had never asked him who he voted for, but I did on that election day in a schoolyard in my hometown. In the tormented final moments of a struggling campaign, my mood lifted when he turned to me and in his quiet but firm voice said, "I'm voting Democratic. Always remember, son, we are working people. We are Democrats. That is what we do, and this is how we vote." I'm looking for a baseball poem too here somewhere. I've got a few.
Yeah, you know, my whole somebody posted here. Bill Keith posted one of the things. Oh, don't go away, little post. Come back. One of the things that struck me listening to Robin Hood was the theme of nostalgia. Kids playing Robin Hood, bringing back memories, old records, memories of your dad. Was that intentional theme as you wrote the songs? Yes, Bill, that was an intentional theme. It's really weird, you know, how this whole last few years I've just had really vivid dreams of those times, you know, and very vivid memories of those times. And I wanted to kind of capture them, encapsulate what was so what was really good about them, and in part, I feel like, as you keep peeling back the onion through your life and trying to figure out more and more about how things happened, you start to just kind of uncode yourself. You figure out what's pushing you forward, what's pushing your buttons, what's keeping you back, and all of that. ML, do you find yourself doing any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it could be a combination of the strange world we live in and COVID and being quarantined. I think a lot of people have been doing much deeper thinking in this last year than ever before. Even people who that is not a normal part of their life to be contemplative and so forth. They're sort of been forced into it, through this being sheltered in place and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I told myself when this whole thing started that I was going to do some deep diving, and I was going to write some very honest songs, and then I've been doing this writers group, and we've just had a prompt every month, and I find myself writing to the prompt and not really going as deep, and then I went ahead and started writing that song 10 days ago, which was for me, a very deep dive. And where was I going with that?
Well, that's another thing that's been happening lately too.
Not remembering where you're going with something.
Yeah. I mean, even when you're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find I'm like, am I on I-75 or am I on the 405 in LA? Where am I? Oh, there's no mountains and it's gray. I'm in Detroit.
Yeah. That seems like a pretty easy one. Anyway, well, I'm gonna do. We've got time for probably just a couple more things here. I'm gonna do. Well, you tell me. I could do something from Robin Hood, or I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, something from Robin
Oh,
Hood.
yeah.
Okay.
That's your Abbey Road.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that.
It's true. It's great.
I used to be a happy man till the harbor exploded and the war began. And I tried to join right at the start, but the doctor said I had busted. So I went to work in the Navy Yard. The work was lonely and the work was hard. We pulled those boys out of those wrecks, and we laid them softly on the deck. And at the end of day, back of my mind, I never could leave those boys behind. I drank my wit, trying to forget I'd be burning back beers and cigarettes. All those boys who'd never go home, so many of them barely grown. Too many souls left in my care, leaving somebody with a cross to bear. ML, take us home.
Oh, that's a big demand, man. Well, I'm going to read this one. I haven't read this poem in a long time. But I haven't performed it either. It is on a couple of CDs. It's on there's a version I really like on a CD I did with Peter Lewis. Peter Lewis is from Moby Grape, but he also, which was more interesting to me, the son of Loretta Young. And we did a record together it's out there on Spotify. If you look up ML Liebler, Peter Lewis, there's a lot of really cool stuff on there. But this is an old poem called A Bag of Ketchup. Here's the scene. In the foreground, there's a burst of color as loud as life. On the one hand, I can hardly look at it, yet on the other, my eyes stick like glue. I can't pull the life away from my vision. It is lined up and hung out forever. The reflection is a glowing prism. It's like a spaceship that I remember seeing in a cheap B movie while seated in a darkened shores theater with a big brown bag full of French fries smothered in ketchup, leaking through the bag and staining my pant leg. I have since thought about that brown bag. If I had it now to hold in my hands, I would neatly fold it like a flower and press it into a Bible. I don't have the bag and I don't have a Bible, but I believe I still have that spirit. I believe I caught it in a dream recently. I can remember caressing the feeling and pressing it into the pages of my thoughts. I pushed it hard and deep, but someday, like a burst of life, I know it will rush hot through my veins and it'll show itself right then and there. You just wait and see. Maybe I'll scrape my knee on cement somewhere. Maybe I'll cut my finger with a fish hook, or maybe I'll take a bullet in my heel. But you wait and see if as soon as the air hits my blood, if I don't turn into a bag of ketchup in a theater in a small town and like a flickering image on a screen, I will disappear, leaving the smell of grease and a small burst of life to settle like a worn cloud into the fabric of an old, ragged theater chair. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my, thank you, ML.
That was awesome.
That was after seeing, I tell that story. We went to see, me and the kids, the guys from my neighborhood, they were all boys, of course, went to see Barbarella. And it was so long ago that we paid children's prices to get in, $25, 25 cents a person. And I'm telling you that, and we must have been about 10 or 11, but there is no sensation greater than seeing a partially naked Jane Fonda on a screen at children's rates. And obviously it left an indelible impression on me. True story.
Well, thank you all for coming. We have one last thing to do before we end our program tonight, and that is, without Googling, if anybody knows where I did this little watercolor in my spare time. I had a student who was a no-show for my my watercolor lessons that I teach. So I did this little piece, and I decided that if anybody could answer this question, I will gladly mail it to you. And the question is, what is the picture on the front cover of Chick Corea's Friends album? Type it into the chat if you know it. And if not, we'll just save it for the next round. Keith Williams, no clue. Nobody. Crickets.
No,
Julie
you got
says
me.
2 Cocker Spaniels. You're close, Julie. Yes, Cindy, you could check, but that would be cheating.
We could give clues, Jan.
We could give clues. Okay, it's cartoon characters about whom there have been recent movies.
Real recent, like this weekend.
Not real.
This
I
is
don't
a-
know if it's this weekend. I know that they appear in a video by Justin Timberlake. Can't Stop the Feeling.
I love that song. And I like Britney Spears too.
No,
Lady in
not
the Tramp.
trolls, but you're
Not
close.
Trolls.
Not close. It's not trolls, but you're close. They're blue.
Oh man, now.
Smurfs.
There it goes.
Keith, you got it.
So wait, I've lost.
Keith Williams, you win.
I don't know. Shelley typed it first.
Oh, she did. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
Keith,
Keith.
you don't win. Sorry. Shelley, we're going to need your
Oh,
your
that's Shelby.
address.
That's Shelby.
Shelby,
My
I'm
daughter.
sorry.
My daughter.
Shelby.
Oh, hey, Shelby. We're going to need your address, but your dad can give me that, I'm sure.
I can do that. I think I know where she lives.
Thanks so much, Jan. And
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Mike.
Oh, really good. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jan.
Yeah, Keith, you should have taken some typing classes. We can unmute and talk for a couple of minutes now,
Go
can't we?
on gallery view.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, as we're going to gallery view, that if you don't have a copy of Jan's new CD, it is an incredible piece of work. And there's fantastic songs, of which we heard the title song tonight. I think Frankenstein's on there too, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Frankenstein is instant hit.
Thank
Really
you.
good, really good.
Actually, we released it as a single to folk radio stations this week.
Ooh.
So that and
That
$1.50 will get me a cup of coffee.
Oh,
not at Starbucks. You need more than that.
Hi, isn't it the truth?
And I'm going to use it in my class.
Oh, cool.
Is that good?
That's very cool. My daughter calls Starbucks $4.
There is, true story, in
Step-
Ramallah, in the West Bank in Palestine, they don't have Starbucks there, but they have their own thing. It looks very similar, green and white, and it's called Stars and Bucks. And that's
oh,
their
really?
that's their coffee place, right across from the best shawarma on earth.
Before we go, we want to thank Kiara for
Yes.
being our doorkeeper and doing all of the extraordinary maneuvering of Zoom. Thank you, Kiara.
Tempting to